Hi, good afternoon. I'm Jeff French, Barron County Administrator, and this is a special Administrator's Report. It's my privilege to invite into the studio this afternoon Mr. Preston Pearson from Mosaic Technologies right here in Cameron. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. So, I know a lot of people know about Mosaic, but tell us about Mosaic, which old-timers like me, it's Shebardin, sorry, and I know it's Mosaic Technologies. So two things. Tell us about Mosaic. Tell us a little about you and how long you've worked there.
Well, Mosaic Technologies is still Shebardin Telephone Cooperative. We still are operating as a cooperative.
Okay.
We still have a member board that is elected by the individuals that are within the cooperative. It's primarily on the southern portion, obviously, of Barron County. They are elected to 3-year terms, and they can serve up to 4 consecutive terms at one time. So we still are member-owned as a cooperative. But again, it was Shebardin Telephone Cooperative, CTC Telecom, was when we expanded in the early 2000s, late 90s into the Rice Lake, Barron areas, as well as Chetek at that time, and became a competitive company then at that point. Obviously, we've gone through a lot of different iterations of how we've delivered services in the past, but we are now obviously focusing in the last at least 3 to 5 years primarily, very aggressively, in terms of our fiber build and fiber deployment. I've been with the company for 13 years now.
Okay.
Had entered into the role as I was a consultant for a short period of time right before that. I've got about 25 years worth of telecommunications experience. Been working in this industry my entire career. Actually started digging ditches for the local telephone company when I was going to college. It's kind of how I got into this. But
so ground up.
I ground up, little underground up, actually.
Well, we're not going to talk about that work, but keep going.
So it's been an entire career, obviously, spent in the telecom industry. I have an industrial engineering degree by trade, manufacturing engineering, engineering management degree, but again, kind of got interested into the program of how do these wires work? How does this actually connect? Back when I was actually digging ditches for the phone company.
So if somebody says, so what is your official title and how does that work versus, say, we at the county, we just call him Dom, Domenico.
Yep.
He's
Domenico?
the CEO.
Yep.
Yeah, we just call him Dom. So what's that relationship? Where are you? Kind of just explain that.
Domenico is our CEO. He'll be coming up on 4 years with Mosaic. Again, changed the vision of the company entirely and really put us on an aggressive path, a very good path moving forward. I work directly for him as the Chief Operating Officer.
Okay.
And we have an executive team, an executive committee that actually does the actual strategic direction and executes that strategic direction within the company itself.
So just a little detail. So if I'm a person sitting on the outside and I go, why does Mosaic Technologies exist, or how do you get something done? Is it a true statement, or clarify? You do have an executive team, and you may say, whatever, you want to put in 50 miles of fiber. Mm-hmm. Is that run by the board, and they go, hey, we think that's a good idea? Or kind of just, because I don't think people understand how from inception to maybe it gets to my TV. Let's talk about that.
Well, there's obviously, we're going to talk about the different programs that are available out there for helping to invest in fiber broadband services. So there's different programs that are available here. So we as a group will kind of take a look at the programs that are out there and kind of use that to leverage to say where are the needs within Barron County or even other areas that can take advantage of this. Where are people lacking service? Where do they actually need to see better broadband service capability to obviously be able to grow and be able to continue to do the things that they need to do online, or to be able to even continue to stay doing the things that they need to be doing online. So it's more of we discuss that as an executive committee, try to see if that's going to actually fit to the program. You take a look at a specific area like the ones that we're talking about here to say, this works for this program, this fits, so let's go ahead and go for it and try to actually make that work.
We're going to get into that right now. So I want you to talk about the digital divide, availability of broadband, high speed, and how that grows. Now I want to explain to our listeners that the county, as a county board, as county administrator, it's in our strategic plan to promote broadband, internet connectivity, all that stuff, because we see it as part and parcel of economic development. And I'm going to end there because I don't want to steal the things that you want to talk about. So my question is, explain to our viewers what the digital divide, availability, and growth, and why it's important.
Sure. The Infrastructure Act of 2021 put together a large amount of funding at the national level for broadband deployment, but the state of Wisconsin has been obviously doing their own funding in a lot of different areas, as well as what we call COVID money, which was the American Rescue Plan money as well too, have been looking at trying to obviously incentivize the broadband deployment within areas that are lacking or they don't have what's the FCC or the state has defined as broadband service. So it's essential to, and again, I think the Infrastructure Act does say that exactly. It is essential to a full participation of modern day living in America to have broadband service, available, affordable, and reliable broadband service. Our vision is to get fiber optic lines because that is the most reliable and scalable and one-time investment, so you don't have to come back in later on to put fiber optic lines in there. That digital divide of rural people that do have broadband to versus those that do not have broadband, it greatly disparages people that can't get the broadband service. And we saw it obviously through COVID as well too. When everything went to lockdown, kids had to stay home for school, people had to stay home for work. Those that did not have broadband, sufficient broadband to be able to participate in Zoom meetings or classes or take their education home with them, really saw the lack. And if we ever go through anything like that again, it's obviously going to be a big hindrance and a big problem for everybody in Barron County and nationwide if they don't have that reliable broadband.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to talk about something that I learned from your CEO, Domenico. And I feel it's important, and I hope you'd agree. When you're talking about putting that fiber line, that glass line, why is that important? And talk about how long that lasts. And it's virtually, once it's there, it's like 100-year life, or talk about that just a second.
Well, yeah, it doesn't necessarily deteriorate because it's not like a copper line where you're putting a current over it that has a deterioration obviously associated with it. Will it deteriorate over time? Sure, there's animals that could dig it up, or somebody could actually cut it, so there's still ongoing maintenance of it. But again, fiber optic lines are very small hollow glass tubes. That light actually bounces up and down. It doesn't just travel straight down it actually bounces as it travels down that line. And because you're using light instead of electrical current, you can do these types of bandwidth increments. Instead of talking megabits per second, we're talking gigabits now. So our current network has 1 gig capability everywhere. By the end of this year, it will be 10 gig capable. And that's to every single home. And it's not a shared line. It's not shared services. It doesn't depend upon whether or not your neighborhood or your neighbors themselves or people along your street are using it during busy hour times. It's your dedicated service and dedicated line. And again, it will last. We've got fiber optic lines that have been in the ground for 40 years and they're still in use at this point. So again, it's a case of it's scalable. It does have a longer return on investment, obviously, because it is expensive, more expensive to put in the ground than other possibilities or other options like wireless services, but again, it gives you that length of time or that longevity that, again, if we want to go from 1 gig to 10, you change the box at the house, you move a line back in the central office, and now you're at 10.
Wow.
And our partners are already going and saying that there's a game plan and roadmap to go to 25, 50, 100. All that stuff is currently in the works, and the specifications are actually made to be able to get to that point. So it's in once from a capital investment, and you're done. It's not like you have to change things out to be able to change out the whole medium that you're using to get there, to be able to actually get these scalable and growth opportunities.
Fantastic. Now we've talked about the co-op and the digital divide. Let's talk specifically about this grant that I believe you're applying for. It's called the USDA, which stands for United States Department of Ag. Correct?
Yep.
Community Connections Grant. Talk about what's the need, your timeline process, and we'll talk location, but let's start with that.
Yep. So the Community Connect program is issued by the Rural Utility Service, which is the evolution of the REA, the Rural Electrification Association.
Okay.
So 100 years ago, the investment by this group and this department was electrification, getting electrical lines and power services, because that was obviously transformative to the farmers in the area. But this is now obviously broadband. So broadband essentially is the 21st century version of what this department is actually administrating, is getting that broadband service out to everybody. This program is what's called the Community Connect program, with which is got a $5 million maximum on a project. We need to cover 100% of the people have a lacking of capability of 25 megabits down for internet service with 3 megabits up. So 100% of the people that are within that area, residents and businesses, have to have less than that available to them today.
Less than WOW specs.
Less than 25 by 3.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I understand that. Okay.
Yep. So, and then with that, there's a 15% match associated with it.
Comes from the co-op.
For our opportunity, comes from the co-op. As far as the program goes, they don't really care where they get the money from, as long as there's a 15% match on that money.
Right. So I want to explain local match comes from the Mosaic Cooperative. There's no county money involved here.
We are not requesting or asking for county money involved with
The
this.
county involvement here is to promote this. We want people to understand it.
Correct.
We'll get into that a little later. So good point. So we've got, so just a little, keep going, but then kind of talk about timeline when you're thinking of doing this.
Yes. So the applications are due by June 20th of this year.
Okay.
So we would like to put together, and we have been starting, and you've been part of it, obviously, the program to go to that area that we'll talk about in a little bit, obviously the locations, to put together a project that's going to pass by roughly about 450 people that we are deeming and we are seeing from our competitive analysis, from everything that we're seeing that says that those locations are eligible to be able to get this fiber infrastructure built through this program. And so the applications are due June 20th. They will likely be awarded. They didn't have a specific date on when they'll be awarded, maybe likely by the end of the year. Hopefully then to be starting construction in 2024.
You like to start construction in 2024. Okay, so answer a question from a homeowner that's in this affected area, which we're going to go to next. Does that mean then you're going to go by my house and then you're going to say, oh, well, we're by your house, Mr. French, but to get from our fiber to your house, it's $5,000? Or I think you've explained that to the county committees.
Yes.
But explain that again so that people understand that this is going by, but it's also going to come in. Kind of describe that.
Correct. So we'll put our main line in along the road right-of-ways.
Okay.
We like to stick with the road right-of-ways for our main fiber lines. So the main arteries will be going through the fiber lines, and then we call what's called a drop that goes from the pedestal in the ditch or in a location to the actual homeowner's home. We seek permission from every homeowner to be able to obviously put that line in. Fiber to the home form is usually filled out in that process or somehow recorded so that we know that that's the case. With these grant programs, no, as long as we're going past with our main line at the same time during that project window, there's no cost to anybody if they want to.
So it's not the middle mile catch that I get called about from people that
Yes.
around, well, they went by my house, Mr. French, but now they want to charge me $500 to hook. That's not on the table here.
No.
Okay.
Nope, no cost to have that line put into the individuals' homes.
But I want also, I think I'm right as I understood this when you explained this to the county committee, there's no cost to hook up when you're going by, but if you come back 5 years later, that's a different...
That could change entirely, because obviously I have to bring crews back out to do that work and so forth. But yes, that for the time being, while the construction project window is currently open, there will be no charge to anybody that wants to sign up for service.
Folks, this is a big deal. Listen to what he's telling you. If he's going by your house and his crew is there, now's the time to hook up. Okay, I want to back up as something you said. And did I interrupt you?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Nope.
You said something about this is akin to 100 years ago rural electrification.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of the feeling of the federal government? They're kind of looking at these as synonymous. Rural electrification, early 1900s, high-speed fiber, 2023.
Yep, I think so. I think so. I mean, very much if you look at even the state and local municipalities or county governments, I mean, look at all the broadband task force and all the broadband committees that are being currently set up by all these different federal agencies. That I think it's become very important, and everybody's realizing that broadband is the way to go. Like we've talked about before, you talk to Dave Armstrong or any EDC out there. Yep. I know we've asked them the question exactly to say, do you have any economic development or economic growth? Is it possible without broadband?
The answer's no.
Nobody's going to say, yes, you can certainly do that. You can't nowadays. You have to have reliable, effective broadband service in order to be able to sustain any type of economic growth.
This is fantastic, Preston. So now we've talked about all these reasons. Now we're going to talk, and James here is going to put up a map. I'm going to hold up a map. So what we're talking about, correct me if I'm wrong, Preston, we're talking about this purple area.
Correct. Yep.
This is where you're going to apply, where the 15% match.
Yep.
So I don't know how much you can see this, folks, but this is the western border of Barron County, around that Cumberland area and extending south of Turtle Lake.
Correct.
And this is the area, excuse me, you'd like to put in.
It is. Yep. The blue area is our current fiber deployment area. So we currently have fiber to the home to everybody in that area, including the village of Turtle Lake. Okay. We'd like to go north-south, hitting the Horseshoe Lake. Echo Lake is in that area, getting close to that southwestern portion of Cumberland, and then going south of Turtle Lake just a little ways, staying along the county borders. But that is the area. It looks like we're hitting about 45 miles of fiber optic lines being placed, as well as 480 some establishments currently being passed in the project.
Okay, so folks, this is for you in this area. We've talked about where we're going, why we're going there. But I want you now to talk a little bit about what you're going to need from residents from this area. I believe you called them testimonials. Just kind of talk about that a smidge.
Yep. So testimonials, what we need for the applications is the government applications look for information and want to hear directly from the people that are affected by this program to tell them what is their current broadband experience. What do you currently have at your home for internet services and speeds? How is that impacting you and your ability to have the kids go to school or for you to be able to work remotely from home? How would this program then, and what would this fiber optic line to be able to increase your broadband do for you and improve your life in terms of where you're currently living right now? Again, you can't grow anything without broadband and effective broadband. So even outside, obviously, the entertainment value and aspect of things, how does this impact your life going forward? And that's what we're looking for here. Tell us your story. Help us put this application together to make this more attractive for those that are reading the grant application.
You hit on entertainment, but I hope people also talk about the educational value. Because as we see what I call the revolution in higher ed, and we should really have a Randy Drost, who's an expert here, probably, but I think K-12 revolution of kids, it's great for entertainment, but let's also look at what's provided for the next generation. Because if it's going to be in the ground 100 years, we've got 2 or 3 generations that can benefit from this, and that's important too, I think, get out there.
Well, healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
Healthcare is interesting. I mean, how many virtual doctors now do you have nowadays, especially with the shortage of hospital care and doctors and nurses? And if you want to see a specialist, what's the easiest way to do it? Get on a virtual session with your doctor, and be able to get to access to that expertise.
Yeah, we have some friends that live in rural Dunn County, and they almost exclusively use a video chat because they don't have to drive to Menominee to get it. Okay, so we've discussed where, why, what you're trying to accomplish, the testimonials, great stuff. Talk about this community center that's part and parcel of this grant.
Sure. Yep. A unique aspect to this specific grant application is the requirement that you have to build a community center. A community center is necessary. It has to be within the project area. So for this application, you can't put it like somewhere in Turtle Lake. It has to be somewhere in the purple project area itself.
All right, so you're talking somewhere in this purple project area, you're going to build a community center which will do what?
A community center is required to have free public access with machines that are provided for at the time. So it's almost like an internet cafe, but you've got a location where there's machines that are available, public Wi-Fi, open so many hours per day, per week, etc., that people can come in to be able to use broadband service.
Okay, so let's make the sales pitch. Anybody in that area, if you know of a spot of land where Mosaic Technologies can get some property and set up a community center, that would be a big help, right?
Yep.
I mean, that would be huge. I would assume there's some points assigned. That'd be a huge point enhancer for you to get this grant.
It's required of the grant, so it's not even a point aspect of it. This is a requirement. I think this is why this project or this funding opportunity doesn't usually get a whole lot of traction. It's not a well-known program within our U.S. Again, there's Reconnect, there's loan programs, so there's so many different funding opportunities for this. And again, part of our vision is to get aggressive out there to make sure that we can take advantage of these types of things. And I just think that this program and this requirement, because not a lot of people probably want to build a building, house it, make it open to the public, staff it with somebody there that can obviously help and assist. You've got the cybersecurity aspects of the workstations that you've got in there. You got to keep them obviously maintained. So I think that's one of the things that keeps this program from being a real popular one nationwide. We love it. We're going to use it and want to try to take advantage of this.
So if I'm standing outside looking in, and you get this, and in 2024, and all this goes on, is it an accurate statement that hypothetically, if this goes in 2025, there's potentially a community center staffed by Mosaic experts? I walk in there and I want to use the internet, or I don't understand it. I'm going to have some interaction, maybe learn something?
Yep, exactly.
Well, that's super cool. I think that's great. Okay, federal government, write them the check. Let's get her done. Anyway, so we've had a great time, and I really do appreciate you. This is a big deal in the county's strategic plan to get broadband, because we see it at the county level for economic development, health care, aging in place, delivery of services, kids' education. It's all these things. So as we start to essentially wrap up, what have I not asked you, or what do you need to share with our listeners and get them understand?
I think to extend a little bit further on what we need for the testimonials, if you go to our website and if you click on up in the upper right-hand corner, it says I want fiber. If you click on that link, at least we can get your information and we can probably start getting the testimonials or getting some information that we would need. Just fill out that form in there. It's very quick, very easy. I want fiber. Again, it's right in the upper right-hand corner of our website, experiencemosaic.com. We'll be able to start putting that information together to start getting your story. And again, we got a short time window here, so as soon as that information can get put together, it's only going to strengthen this application and make us that much closer to being able to get that to a reality.
And I just want to, one thing to wrap up, if you live in this area, you may very well get a call from Bill Efforts, who is the Barron County Board Representative Supervisor in that area. He's going to be appointed, hopefully on Monday night, to your Community Connections Committee that's overseeing this, and I believe he's going to be tasked with helping you, well, I know he's going to be tasked with helping you get these testimonials, because the county wants to work cooperatively, again, for the benefit of everybody. It makes everybody's life easier. So with that, I thank you for coming on. I think this is great. I've learned a ton. I've learned so much from you and Dom over why the expansion is so important. So thanks. This has been a Special County Administrator's Report with Preston Pearson from Mosaic Technologies. Hey folks, check out their website, learn about this grant. If you live in that area, please do their testimonials. We need this. It's great for our community. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend, everybody.